Selamat pagi and a very good morning. Yang Berusaha Saudara N. Gopal Krishnan, Setiausaha Agung Malaysia Trade Union Congress, our Vice President here, Brother Ong Chu Siang and Brother Solomon from NUBE, and Brother Ong Chu Siang from ABAM. I believe some other consular is not arrived yet from Philippines and Vietnam. Vice President MTUC, trade union leaders, members, invited guests, leaders and representatives from NGO, domestic workers, support coalition and support group, our domestic workers and work colleagues present today. We have to start a few minutes now because after that we will break for tea and we come back for the opening by Brother Khalid because he's still stuck, as I told you earlier. So welcome and selamat datang to our forum entitled Are the Laws and Practices Sufficient Enough to Eliminate Human Trafficking Among Domestic Workers? The main objective of the Malaysian Trade Union Congress to hold this forum is to discuss and deliberate on matters pertaining to the existing law provisions with regard to migrant domestic workers in Malaysia, and also to focus on how we can help streamline the policies and regulations so as to ensure that the domestic workers would acquire and enjoy the status of workers with decent work. It is also hoped that policies and regulations would enable weaknesses and shortcomings in the existing labor laws to be rectified. Therefore, without further ado, I call upon Brother N. Gopal Krishnan, the General Secretary of Malaysian Trade Union Congress, to give welcome address. Dipersilakan, Brother.
Thank you, Sister Chair, Saudari Silam. A very good morning, brothers and sisters. Brother Solomon, the Vice President of MTUC. Brother Ong Chu Siang, Vice President of MTUC. Invited guests, speakers, officials from government agencies, embassies, leaders from civil societies, members of MTUC affiliates, and all sisters. Before I go into my prepared speech, I would like to touch two issues which are very important at the present time. That is none other than the budget which has been submitted by the Prime Minister on last Friday. I was having a coffee just now with Brother Jamil, and he pointed out a very simple calculation of GST and the 20% increase in petrol or RON 95. RON 95 has been increased by 20 cents, which is equivalent to 9.5%. But the PM is talking that this time around, GST will not be imposed on the RON 95, which is only 6%. 6% against 9.5%. Are we telling the workers, the lower income group, is not going to be affected by the 20 cents? That is a situation that we are facing at this moment, brothers and sisters. And of course, they are talking about the BRIM, assistance of BRIM, where it has been increased. But we look back at the issuance of BRIM, it is always during the festive season or during the school open when the beginning of the year. So whatever we receive, immediately within 2 days, we will spend on our needs. As mentioned by the minister in the Prime Minister's department, more than 40% of the workers in this country receive less than 2,000. And more than 60% of the families in Malaysia receive less than 3,000 per month. So whether this BRIM assistance is it sufficient for those group of workers who are basically workers in this country? Of course, we are not talking about the higher end, society where their income is more than 10,000. We are talking about less than 3,000 per family. So although we really appreciate the payment of BRIM, one-time payment every year, as MTUC is asking for the last couple of years that the government has to advise the employers to give a COLA of $300 without further delay. We have a federal constitution. Among others, the federal constitution says there should not be any disparity among the citizens. Why? We are not against the public servant, but the public servants are given 300 ringgit COLA or 200 to 300 over the last couple of years. Why not the Prime Minister advise the employers to give COLA to the workers in the private sector? In fact, the second Prime Minister, the father of the current Prime Minister, during 1970s, if I'm not mistaken, the exact year was 1979. He advised the employers then to give COLA when the first time the government introduced COLA of 30 ringgit. I still remember that was the time I started my employment, and the company gave $30 as a COLA. $30 at that point of time is the value is more than $300 what we are asking at this point of time. But somehow or other, persistently we are requesting the Prime Minister to advise the employers, but sad to say that until today we have yet to receive any positive reply from the PM on this matter. So as far as the tax, of course, we didn't see, the budget for 2015, we didn't see any positive proposal from the government for the lower income group below 3,000 a month. Of course, there are some other perks. For example, there is a review to look at the income tax. When I'm working at a moment with less than $3,000, I'm not going to contribute anything to income tax. So any reduction in income tax, is it going to anyway help me? That is the current situation in Malaysia, brothers and sisters. Also, they are talking about corporate tax. Corporate tax will be reduced, and they are talking about 1 or 2% of the revenue. What is the amount? Where that amount will go where? And we also noticed over the last couple of years, from the time the minimum wage has been introduced, of course, those new employees who are entering the market, they will get the minimum of 900 in Malaysia, Peninsular Malaysia, whereas another, 800 for Sabah and Sarawak. But what happened to the current existing workforce who are already in the industry over the last umpteen years? Over the last 30 years, the salary in Malaysia was very, very much lower. But when the government introduced the minimum wage, they never consider any payment for the existing workers whose salary is more than 900. Puan Lok, welcome to this forum. I think I invite you to sit in front. Please come in front. Give a round of applause to Puan Lok. With all the heavy schedule, she still decided to attend. It's an honor to MTUC, Puan Lok. And also the other issue that I want to touch today is on the presence of migrant workers in Malaysia. The Minister of Human Resource, in one of his recent remarks, made that there are 5.8 million migrants in this country, out of which he says that more than 50% is the undocumented migrant. But how does these undocumented migrants enter the country. I strongly believe majority of the 5.8 million migrants in the country enter the country as legal migrant workers. Somehow or other, due to the unscrupulous activity of the employers, they become undocumented migrants in this country. Who is responsible there? Who is responsible for this situation? I strongly believe the government is responsible for this situation. When we started to have migrants in this country, I still remember they were contributing to SOCSO. But over the period, the government decided not to stop the migrant workers from contributing to SOCSO. I believe if the migrants who are entering the country, if they are subjected for SOCSO, the government will have a statistic to show where are the migrants enter the country, at which place they are. With the current system, today an employer or agency can bring in the migrant workers. Tomorrow they can go to the nearby police station and make a report that I brought 100 workers and today they are all disappeared from my employment. Employers are, they don't have any responsibility after they make this report. So why can't we have a system whereby we can overcome all these problems? That is why 2 weeks ago, I think, on behalf of MTUC gave a statement that Putrajaya is responsible for the current situation. And we got a shock that some other politicians are telling it is not even 5.8 million. In actual fact, it is touching 10 million. Yeah, this is what some of the politicians are talking about. We don't know from where the figure comes, but I think there is a good reason to say that during any public holidays, if we have a chance, we go to KL, we can see the entire city is with migrants. That means there is a possibility that 10 million migrants are in the country, and they are here because there was an invitation to these migrant workers to come to Malaysia to support the economy. And it is our responsibility to safeguard their fundamental rights, human rights, as well as worker rights. That is why this forum has been organized, and I take this opportunity to apologize to all participants. We didn't realize that effective October 12th, the entire traffic system in Petaling Jaya will be changed to one way, where I took more than 35 minutes to reach this place. In fact, I managed to reach because I took a different approach of not following the advice of the police. That is how I managed to reach here. And we also didn't realize there's another important event, that is the marathon. So it coincides with our functions. That is the reason why until now, Brother Khalid, who is supposed to speak after me, is still caught in the jam. That is the reason why some of the chairs are still empty. But since the marathon is already over, maybe after the tea, before we could start that program, I think the hall will be full and the president should be able to join us for the session. With that few words, I've decided not to go to my text, because what is important for the forum, more or less I have touched. With that few words, I thanks the Sister Silam and Sister Devi, who is responsible for arranging this forum within a short period of time. And thanks every participant, especially those invited guests who took the time off. Most of the trade unionists, we work 24/7. And I realize even some NGOs are also doing the same. With that, we can manage to come to a conclusion how we can have a conducive environment so that not only we Malaysians, our brothers and sisters who are here with us, to improve the economy of the country will be protected by the at least the principal laws of the country. With that few words, once again, thank you everybody.
Thank you, Brother Gopal, and welcome to Datuk Farida Khalid and Sister Law. Okay, we just break 10 minutes for tea, alright? Then we come back while our speaker is preparing for preparation, but no delay, hopefully. Thank you. Break for tea.
Break.
Ya, break sekejap. Sebab Ladies and gentlemen, yang berbahagia, the President of MTUC, Cik Khalid, Muhammad Khalid Atan, Setiausaha Agong, Brother N. Gopal Krishnan, yang berbahagia Datuk Farida Khalid, Anju Siang, Brother Anju Siang and Brother Solomon. Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I now call upon Brother Muhammad Khalid Atan to present his opening speech and declare open for the forum and campaign. Now I call without delay. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Dear colleague from MTUC, Brother Gopal, Anju Siang, Brother Solomon, and the rest, Datuk Farida Khalid, I am Muhammad Khalid. I am the father. So my daughter is here now. So we are working together, you see, daughter and son. All right. Our colleague from Naganita, we will not forget you, Naganita, and our other distinguished guest invitees, and we are not having representatives from only private sectors, we are also having from the public sectors, and we also welcome Sister Lo, General Secretary of Quebec. Lady Secretary tau, memang leading a confederation, you see. So this is the example how other women should follow lah. Ikut sikit lah, tengok orang perempuan boleh, then everybody is boleh. Okay. Okay, for my sorry, I'm a little bit late because I was caught up with the traffic jam. I couldn't go. I went through Jalan Barat. It was blocked. I turned back. Here, I couldn't come here. Everywhere blocked. Police ada. Curi masuk, kena tangkap tadi. Tapi dia tak fine lah. Dia kasih lepas. Saya cakap very important meeting in Shah village. So they let me go. Anyway, I wish to thank all of you for being with us this special morning. We're going to talk about, I think, domestic workers, the problems they face and so forth. And the brothers and sisters, my speech will touch on the problems faced by the domestic workers, what we should do and how to assist them and how to organize these people. Because at the moment, there's nobody organizing them, except that I think MTUC is doing something on that, and Naganita is also helping. We are also in collaboration with Naganita to assist these people. And the other NGOs, of course, not forgetting the other NGOs. Brothers and sisters, the current status on the legal safeguard and protection for domestic workers in the country is almost non-existent. As a result, there have been a series of complaints and reports relating to physical and sexual abuses, poor working conditions, no weekly paid day off, non-payment of wages, wrongful deduction, mistreatment by the employers and deprived of proper food, no freedom of movement, long working hours, forced work in 2 or more places, and restrictions on communication with family members. Even extensive torture leading to death was highlighted. I think we have read it in the mass media. As long as the domestic workers are excluded from the scope of the Employment Act, the abuses and violations on domestic workers in Malaysia will continue. The publicity given on the situation has actually created a poor image of Malaysia's approach toward the welfare of domestic workers, and furthermore led to the US-based Human Rights Watch to downgrade Malaysia to Tier 3 now, watch list. Brothers and sisters, in June 2009, the Minister of Human Resources declared that domestic workers will be given a paid day off. It is now almost 5 years, and up to now, nothing has materialized. We were assured that under the new amendments to the Employment Act, which came into operation on 1st April at that time, 2012, the minister will invoke the powers accorded to him to introduce regulation governing working hours and working conditions for domestic workers. Here again, we are disappointed that nothing has happened since. Government's efforts to solve the aforesaid issue by way of an MOU between Malaysia and Indonesia do not seem to work either, and to a large extent does not protect the rights of domestic workers. The government gave the impression that the MOU is the answer to all the ills the domestic workers are going through, but it does not seem to be. The MOU itself states that one paid day off can be compensated with overtime. The MOU has not stated proper terms and conditions for the recruitment and employment of domestic workers. It must be noted at this level, the MOU only covers Indonesian domestic workers. Thereby, MTUC urged the government to take urgent measures to ratify the ILO Convention 189 and to put in place appropriate legislation. The significance of the ILO Convention 189 was aptly described by the ILO Director General Juan Samovia and others, including employers and government, who spearheaded the marathon deliberations which ultimately led to the adoption of this historical convention. According to Juan Samovia, the Director General of the ILO, he said, "We are moving the standards system of the ILO into the informal economy of the first time, and this is a breakthrough of great significance. History is being made." The new ILO standards set out that domestic workers around the world who care for families and households must have the same basic labor rights as those available to other workers. Reasonable hours of work, weekly rest, and of at least 24 consecutive hours, and a clear information on terms and conditions of employment. Bringing the domestic workers into a fold of our values is a strong move for them and for all workers who aspire to decent work, but it also has strong implications for migration and, of course, for gender equality. Welcoming the adoption of the convention, for Paul McKay from New Zealand, the employer's vice president, declared, "We all agree on the importance of bringing domestic workers into the mainstream and responding to serious human rights concerns. All employers agree there are opportunities to do better by domestic workers and the household and families for whom they work." As a follow-up, Manuela Tomai, director of the ILO's Conditions of Work and Employment Program, said, "This is a truly major achievement." Calling the new standards robust yet flexible, Mr. Tomai added that the new standards make clear that domestic workers are neither servants nor members of the family, but they are workers. And after today, they can no longer consider as second-class workers. Brothers and sisters, apart from urging the government to ratify the ILO Convention 189 on domestic workers, MTUC ourselves have conducted several dialogues in conjunction with Tenaga Nita, gathering all the domestic workers in an MTUC, explaining to them the implication of the law and also their rights. And in 2007, we tried to register them and put an effort to form an association of domestic workers, submitted all the documents to the registrar, but it was struck down with no valid reason. And this year, brothers and sisters, on 10 August 2014, we had another gathering with the domestic workers, mainly from Indonesia and Philippines, and also with the collaboration of Tenaga Nita. We are trying to organize these people, these poor, vulnerable workers. We are trying again. This is our second attempt to register the Association of Domestic Workers. And we hope this time around, with the collaboration of all the stakeholders, mainly the NGOs, we pray that we are able to register this association for the benefit of the domestic workers. With that, brothers and sisters, I thank you. Thank you very much. Dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saya dengan sukacitanya merasmikan what's that? Forum of Laws and Practices for Domestic Workers 2014. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. I do not want to waste time, and we are waiting for another session, very important session for everybody. Well, anyway, Okay, thank you everybody here. And we're going to start for the next session. I call Sister Lauren to come forward from Tenala Ganita to share the session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. I would like to call upon Tuan Fauzi to come and be with us in the front to give his presentation. Now, first and foremost, thank you to MTUC for organizing this particular forum for us to review if the laws and practices are sufficient to combat, to eliminate human trafficking among domestic workers. Now, without a comprehensive policy in place in Malaysia for recruitment, placement, and employment of migrant workers, and we have, as you heard from Brother Gopal this morning, 5.9 migrant workers, 5.9 million migrant workers. But there's been statements it has gone up even to 10,000. And 50% of that number are undocumented migrant workers. Now, why is that? Why is there undocumented migrant workers in Malaysia? Again, I will come back. There is no comprehensive policy. There is no sufficient legislation in place to protect migrant workers, in particularly domestic migrant workers. And that is simply the reason why migration is a big business. It is so highly organized, structured to make money, where migrants are seen, the domestic workers are seen as commodities, as profits, as a means to business, with dollar signs on their head. And that is the ultimate reason why Malaysia is placed in Tier 3. I will not go into details. I will let Dr. Farida talk about it. Okay? So today, with us, to give us an overview, we have two very, very important speakers. I will introduce the first speaker, that is Dr. Farida, who is the Deputy President of the National Council of Women's Organization. She started as a teacher, then went into public relations. She worked with the Cooperative Central Bank and right after with the Malaysian Institute of Management. She has been with NCWO for more than 30 years. She was appointed to the Malaysian Anti-Trafficking Council in 2008. Since then, she has done anti-trafficking in persons, training of trainers for teachers and NGOs in almost all states. She's also launched campaigns on trafficking in persons in all states. Through and with NCWO affiliates, she has done a lot of awareness program on the 80th throughout the whole country. Now, she will be giving us an overview of human trafficking with a focus on labor trafficking and why Malaysia is in the position of Tier 3 under the US TIP Report 2014. The second speaker, we have Tuan Muhammad Fauzi bin Ismail, who is the Penolong Pengarah Immigration, Bahagian Penguatkuasa Ibu Pejabat Immigration Putrajaya. Beliau telah berkhidmat dengan Jabatan Immigration Malaysia selama 35 tahun dan lebih 30 tahun pengalaman dalam penguatkuasa. He is an enforcement officer with 35 years in Immigration Department who has been working with the Enforcement Division with the experience of enforcing the Immigration Act for 30 years. And he will be giving us an overview of the Immigration Act, policies, and Passport Act as to how these legislations and policies can combat labor trafficking, in particularly where domestic workers are concerned and how it can increase the protection of domestic workers in Malaysia. So with that, I now hand over the table of the discussion to Dato' Farida. Over to you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to each and every one of you. Has my father, Encik Khalid, gone home? But ada. Encik Khalid, President of MTUC, Cik Fauzi, Ismail, my colleague in MAPO, the Malaysian Anti-Trafficking Council in Kementerian Dalam Negeri, and my colleagues, especially Angel, my NGO colleagues from Tenaga Nita, and my other NGO friends who are here today, and ladies and gentlemen. Tempat ni hari ni ada a special place in my heart. When I was appointed to the Human Trafficking Council, I had no idea what I was in for. Terima aja dapat surat dari menteri, you are appointed to the Human Trafficking Council. I didn't know what I was getting into, so the first person I called was Angel. Angel was the one who was my mentor right from the beginning, because when I was just learning what Atik was all about, Angel had already been doing work for more than 15 years, I think, at that time. And so, Angel, I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And even my awareness talk, my PowerPoint and so on, when we prepared all our training materials and so on, Angel has been the backbone to us. And later on, after my talk, in case I can't answer some of the complex questions, I'm going to ask Angel to answer for me. So thank you in advance, Angel. Okay, thank you to MTUC for inviting me this morning to share whatever little I know of human trafficking and what we have been doing. Just to give you a broad overview on what is human trafficking, because many people seem to think that human trafficking are just about women who are forced into the sex industry. And many of you here are familiar more with the forced labor. But let us look at it at a bigger picture. Okay? Okay, can we start? Okay, there are two acts that covers human trafficking. One is the first act, Akta Anti Perdagangan Orang 2007, that was enforced in 2008, and later on it was amended to include penyeludupan migran, and this was enforced in 2010. Okay, this is just the artinya. Okay, my PowerPoint is in Malay, but feel free to ask me if you're not sure what is the Malay thing all about, because I am one of those that belong to the old school where our two mother tongue is both English and Malay. So I'm very comfortable with both languages. Okay, artinya segala perbuatan yang melibatkan perolehan, acquiring atau pengekalan, maintaining tenaga kerja, atau perbuatan atau perkhidmatan seseorang melalui paksaan, forced, dan termasuk termasuklah perbuatan rekrut, memindah, transport, melindungi, harboring, menyediakan atau menerima seseorang bagi maksud akta ini. Next. In short, it means kita mengeksploitasi seseorang manusia untuk mendapat keuntungan, biasanya dalam bentuk wang. You use a human being as a product to make money. Iaitu menjual beli manusia. That is the simple term, and the key word there is exploitation. Next. How are the people exploited? To make money. Macam mana ni manusia boleh dieksploitasi sampai setengah orang menjadi kaya raya, ada yang menjadi millionaire pun. I know of a few people who becomes millionaire trading in selling people for labor. Segala bentuk eksploitasi seks, perkhidmatan paksa, perhambaan, pengabdian, slavery and servitude, pemindahan organ manusia is also another crime, under the ATIP. But so far in Malaysia belum ada kes and penjualan bayi. Siapa yang menjadi mangsa? Men, women and children. Now for number one, segala bentuk eksploitasi seks, mangsa di situ kebanyakan, the majority ialah women dan kanak-kanak. Okay? Clear. Okay, there is a process to human trafficking. It always starts with recruit. Kemudian dia pindah, dia angkut, tak kira lah, dengan bas kah, dengan boat kah, dengan kapal terbang kah, dia pindah ke tempat lain, mungkin dalam negeri, mungkin keluar negara. Dia angkut, dia pindah, kemudian bila sampai di destinasi, baru dieksploitasi. So that is the process. It starts with recruitment. Okey, macam mana mereka direkrut? Bila saya pergi bagi ceramah di sekolah-sekolah, saya selalu memaklumkan kepada murid-murid sekolah, cara mereka ni direkrut hampir sama dengan cara what do you call drug mules. Drug mule is what in Malay?
Kaldai dadah.
Kaldai dadah. It's almost the same. Tipu helah, pujuk rayu, janji palsu. Ini selalu timbul. Paksaan, forced, kekerasan, ancaman, you are threatened, cara rekrut, penculikan, kidnapping, pemalsuan, falsification of documents, godaan tu selalu kerana cinta lah, cinta, ikut bila sampai destinasi dieksploitasi. Kemudian terikat dengan hutang, bonded labor tu, penting. I have to go very fast. Now, lepas tu apabila akta dipinda, dimasukkan pula penyeludupan, which is quite confusing. Penyeludupan, let's just summarize, pemerdagangan orang ialah jenayah terhadap seseorang manusia. It's a crime against an individual. Whereas penyeludupan penyeludupan in English, smuggling, is cross-border crime. That's all you need to know. Okay. And then pemerdagangan orang selalunya dikatakan ialah juga perhambaan zaman moden. Tenaga buruh, seperti saya kata tadi, you always discuss about that. Even domestic workers kadang-kadang terikat, tenaga buruh terikat, bonded. Pemerdagangan nelayan, ada juga nelayan-nelayan dalam bot yang dipaksa bekerja, dengan tak dibayar gaji. penyeludupan dan perdagangan bayi, tempahan isteri luar negara secara post pun ada. You know, they get into this brokered marriage through agents. Bila dah kahwin, bila dah sampai, there they are trafficked. Pemindahan dan penjualan organ manusia. You know, here belum ada kes lah. Tetapi ramai orang Malaysia pergi ke luar negara untuk beli buah pinggang. Betul tak? You haven't heard that? You go to certain countries, India, China, you buy kidney lah selalu. Orang yang menjual kidney tu kadang-kadang tak dapat duit sikit, yang dapat banyak orang tengah lah darana. Yang ini, this one you all know already ya. I just go through. Ya, buruh paksa. Dia ambil bekerja, dipindah, isn't it? Bawa tenaga kerja, letak di Kelang A. Lepas tu gaji ejen yang kutip. Bila dah ada komplain, keluarkan, bubuh pula di tempat lain. Ya, 2-3 tempat. Yang untung the ejen. Itu majikan secara paksa, tiada terma kontrak yang standard, tiada perlindungan, no cover, pasport dirampas, like what you all said just now. Dirampas, disimpan, pergerakan terhad. Your movement is limited. You are not allowed to move. Kalau jadi domestic worker pun, duduklah di situ. You cannot go anywhere. Keadaan terasing, you are isolated, gaji tidak dibayar. This is, you hear this quite often, right? Tiada cuti, tiada rehat, membuat lebih dari satu jenis kerja. This is very common. Even some among my relatives and family members. Anak dia ada maid. Hari Rabu hantar rumah mak mertua. Hari Jumaat hantar. The maid works in 3 houses, which is salah, ya tak Tuan Fauzi? Tuan Fauzi kata salah. And then at the same pay, kalau 600, 700, itu saja. I know pergerakan terhad. I know personally of people the maid kerja 2 tahun tak boleh keluar rumah. When the family goes out, they lock the grey gate. And then I said, how come you don't allow? No lah, when we go out sometimes we take her. Other than that, no. And these are educated people, you know. Educated people. They just know the maid is just like a slave in the house, and she doesn't pay the maid. The employer is my friend a few years ago. She doesn't pay the maid for 7 months. I said, why? Oh, potong. The agent said, potong balik lah duit advance that she pays to the agent. And by the 2nd month, the maid starts borrowing from her to send money home. So until the 2 years contract tu, kira borrow lah. At the end of the day, dia nak balik, duit pun kosong. These are real things happening to domestic workers, and this is the area that you are focusing on. Ya, tak bagi cuti perkara biasa. Takut maid lari. I always tell my friends, kalau dia nak lari, you bagi cuti kan, you tak bagi cuti, dia akan lari. It's a common thing. My weapons, they have to go and get some more weapons to make money. Sometimes when they sell people, you keep on reusing. Say for example, you bring 10 girls, you force into the sex trade. You keep on reusing them. Easy money and senang dan mudah dapat duit. Okay. These are some of the jenayah antarabangsa yang pesat berkembang, ya. Penyeludupan dadah, perdagangan orang, penyeludupan senjata. Kadang-kadang I don't even know, some people say perdagangan orang is number 1. I'm not quite sure, Angel, because every time we get quite confusing report. Some says number 1, some say number 2. Even that figure, 2 million orang diperdagangkan tiap-tiap tahun. Sometimes I get different figure, yeah, for 5 million, but the majority are women and children. And most of the mangsa, 1/3 comes from our region. Okay, Malaysia is a destination country, negara transit, dan to a small extent asal. Maknanya, we receive a lot of migrant workers, like who quoted just now, 5-6 million. Okay. This figure also mine, saya pun kadang tak tahu whether it's 2 million documented, 2 million undocumented. We get very confusing statistics. But we have a lot of undocumented, ya. Tetapi kebanyakan mereka, somebody sebut tadi, when they come in, many are legal with papers and so on. But when they come here, they are exploited, the papers, the passport, all taken away from them. Jadi bila polis atau immigration buat tangkapan ataupun it's difficult to prove that they are legal. Very difficult. It's not easy for immigration to double check. Kalau kita negara dari Malaysia, senang. Our thumbprint alone, they would know whether we are Malaysian or not. For other nationals, it's so difficult. How do you find out that they have a passport, they come in? So the easy way out is they are illegals lah. Yeah? Negara asal, kita ada juga ya mangsa perdagangan orang yang berasal dari Malaysia, but the figure is quite small compared to those victims yang come in from other countries. Kalau according to MAPO, the council, we have very few. But according to other NGOs, they are doing work in this area, like Tenaga Nita, Angel will have more figures on this, right? Because many of them will go and approach Tenaga Nita rather than go and surrender or go to the government enforcement agencies. Okay, majority of the victims, the majority are actually in the shelter are from Indonesia, and most of them are domestic workers. Yeah, then you have from Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Myanmar, Philippines, China, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Uganda. There was a case in Perlis where an agent brought in about 64 maids in Perlis, and there was a report that the maids were sent out to work and were paid hourly. 1 jam RM15. After that, they will be sent back to this to the house of this agent. So when it was reported that dia tak bayar gaji sehingga pembantu rumah akan balik ke negara asal, immigration moved in and saved the girls and brought them to Kuala Lumpur. I had the opportunity of meeting some of the girls in the shelter, and one girl in particular the rest were looking sad and gloomy. One girl was looking quite happy, So kita apa hal dia ni? Orang lain feeling sad, dia seorang nampak happy. Rupanya dia dah mental. I asked the other girls, what happened to this girl? Okay, what happened was, she is not a very bright girl. So whenever somebody take her for 3 or 4 hours, and when they come back and send her to this guy, nama dia Mr. Lee or something, katalah saya complain, Mr. Lee, apalah you bagi budak ni dekat saya, nak pakai vacuum cleaner, cuci toilet pun tak cuci. You know what they do? He will torture her, slap her, and he used an electric thing, sampai saya pun tak faham. I don't know what they call. The girls at the shelter told me they letak itu, and she went mental because of the torture. And you just imagine, She comes from a poor family. And after the case was settled, it took about 1 year. She was the last to leave the shelter. We sent the girls back. She was the last to be sent back in that group. By then, after rehabilitation, she slightly improved, but she was not back to normal, a domestic worker. And so many others were quite in a bad shape. Pintu masuk, okay, can we skip this? Other crimes related to human trafficking. I will just read this. Slavery, involuntary servitude. This one pie chart I got from Angel. Right, Angel? Must ask her permission also before I use. Debt bondage, forced marriage, forced abortion, forced pregnancy. Are you following me here? Torture, cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment. Rape is a normal thing. Murder, bodily injury, unlawful confinement, labor exploitation, forgery of documents, and corruption. There you are. All the crimes related to trafficking. Where do we find, where do people, where does all these things take place? Anywhere lah. Brothel ka, karaoke ka, condominium ka, hotel, restaurant, and wherever. It happens everywhere. Yeah, and then I don't know now they are cleverer. Before they use a catalog, the girls are not even taken there. Tunjuk ada catalog dekat line. Yang mana you pilih, what time you want. Send lah the girls there. Now they are getting cleverer. I think they just use a handphone. Tunjuk gambar, cantik tak, umur berapa tahun, dara ke, tak dara ke. That's it. What is the impact? The impact is on the individual. How does it affect the individual? How does it affect the family? How does it affect the community, the nation, and global? Impact on the individual. I know of a girl in the shelter who died of HIV/AIDS. I know of another girl through Tenaga Nita who had to have the operation to use the bag. You know the bag, what happens to her now? Where? This girl, Nasima. Oh, this girl. I'm talking about her, I didn't realize. She was so badly hurt. I'm so sorry, I didn't know she was here. Yeah, itulah kesannya. And then to the family, what happens to the family? Poor families send the children out. They expect better way for better life for the family and so on. Sometimes when they go back to the family may not even want to accept them, you know, because kadang-kadang family rasa malu and so on, and they may even go back to their way of life. She understands English, is it? I'm so sorry. See how traumatized, right in front of you, what happened? Poor girl. And to the country, what happens? The impact on the nation, the amount of money the government has to spend and spend, you know, training programs, giving money to NGOs to conduct training programs, giving money to the enforcement agencies to beef up their personnel, training the AG's chambers. There's no end. Yeah, we all are crying out loud for money to do work to combat human trafficking. Even at the global level, the whole world is fighting, yeah, human trafficking. Can we move on? I think we are going to move all that. Can you just go on? I have already spoken about. Go on. Just go on. Go on. Perbelanjaan negara I've covered. We're going to talk about something else now. Okay, just to touch a little bit on the push and pull factor. Why is it, why is it Malaysia has got such a strong pull? Why are we pulling, like a magnet, pulling a lot of foreign workers in the country? Because perkembangan pesat ekonomi kita, everywhere there is job in Malaysia. Cumanya ada orang setengah tu tak nak kerja. I get very annoyed when I go to Cakit Road. I see people jaga kereta, boys. Banyak kerja available, and we have all these drug addicts yang tak buat kerja tapi jaga kereta, dapat 2, 3, 4, 5 ringgit, you go and get one shot. That is the pull factor. Kerja everywhere. You see signboard, pekerja wanted lah. If I go to Cakit Road, I stay in Kampung Baru, I buy chicken, I buy meat, I buy veggie, nasi, lemak, everywhere. Even di gerai makan semua guna pekerja asing. Whether it's legal or not, that is another question. They are everywhere. And sometimes when I go to Cakit Road, say I just walk and listen to the conversation at the roadside stall. It's just like I am in Indonesia. The stalls, they sell me bakso lah, all these Indonesian punya food. You're just like in Indonesia, in Medan or in Jakarta, all the languages dia saja. You go and buy durian malam, all orang dia. Not Jeff Haji, semua Cakit Road. I think 80% are foreign workers. And I always wonder, quite pessimistic, kalaulah ada pergaduhan di antara Malaysian punya orang dengan Indonesian in Cakit Road, we will be overpowered. We will be overpowered there. More of foreigners there than our own people in Cakit Road. You go everywhere lah, Selayang kah mana, Pasar Borong, it's not us anymore. Okay, what is the push factor? Why is it many of them leave their country to come here? Let's just look at the push factor. Kemiskinan. That is the main reason why they leave their country. Poverty. Top of the list, because they are so poor, they will risk their lives to cross and come here to look for job. Penindasan. What is it in English? Suppression. Yeah, some countries you hear how they are being suppressed. Kurang hak asasi manusia. They have no rights at all as a person. They are not given identity. They cannot get job. They cannot even do a passport to cross and go to another country. And where there is conflict in that country, people there also will get out. Bencana alam. After bencana alam, like before Aceh tsunami and so on, people will also leave their country. And then some people leave the country because they are not having the right information. They just go. Next. That is the push factor. Tadi I said tarik. What is the tarik factor? I've already explained. Harapan mendapat pekerjaan dan upah yang tinggi, ingin kemewahan, tiada pilihan lain. They have no choice. They have to leave the country. What about the trafficker? The demand is there. Ini masalahnya ni. The sex industry is booming. No matter what the police do, it's still booming because permintaan. And this business, you don't use credit card, cash. All cash. I think cash in advance kot. Yeah. Tak tahulah. I assume so lah. And then kestabilan ekonomi dan politik in Malaysia, mangsa rela. Sang mangsa rela sanggup datang ke Malaysia because dia kena tipu, ya. Dia kena tipu, dia rela. What else? This business mudah, murah, menguntungkan. You make a lot of profit, easy money. Cara pencegahan, can we leave that? Can we leave all that? Okay. This is about how do we combat trafficking by working together, government agencies, NGO, academia, civil society, the youth, the media. Yeah, law enforcement alone is not enough. We cannot just leave everything to Cik Fauzi in immigration, to the police, to the customs, to maritime, and to the labor department. We have to be involved in this fight against human trafficking, against forced labor, against people exploiting domestic workers. Yeah, we have to work together. Okay, that is the first part, just to give you an overview. Now we come to this section. Why are we in Tier 3? Have you got something on after that? No more? Oh, yo, I thought I did correction this morning at 6:30. What did I do?
Is there another slide?
I thought I put. Okay. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. All these are given by the United States Department. Tier 1 means you comply with all the various stuff to combat human trafficking, and you comply with the trafficking in persons protection something. What is it? TVPPA. What is it? Short form from Trafficking in Persons Act for Protection and Rehabilitation of Victims. That means you comply. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Tier 3 means you don't comply.
No efforts.
We got
No efforts made.
no efforts made. So when we got third year Tier 2 watch list, actually, third year we should have got Tier 3, but they gave us a special waiver. They say, okay, you are still at Tier 2 watch list because why? We submitted plans for 2014. But when they saw that the plans that we submitted, we did not implement, zoop, they gave us to us Tier 3. And normally, after giving Tier 3, there would be some economic sanction on the country. But somehow, it was announced last month that they waiver the sanction. So, that's it. We will not get economic sanction. I'm going to read to you something. Why we got Tier 3, yeah? It's too long to put on PowerPoint. During the reporting period, 2013 to 2014, beginning of 2014, the government made limited efforts to improve its flawed victim protection. Flawed mean cacat lah. Ya, kita punya victim protection program dia kata cacat, ya. Malaysian authorities continue to detain trafficking victims in government facilities for a period of time that sometimes exceeded a year, had limited freedom of movement, and were not allowed to work outside the facilities. Okay, this is what happened. Let's say the police or the immigration, the authorities made a raid somewhere and saved a group of girls. Let's say they are victims of human trafficking. And after that, the girls are put in the shelter after getting a court order to get interim protection. Let's say domestic workers that were brought in from Perlis. When the immigration found out, yes, they are victims, they got a 2 weeks interim protection order. They were put in the shelter, 64 of them. After that, there is enough proof to say that they are victims and there are enough evidence to prosecute the trafficker. They were given a court order called a protection order for 3 months. First 2 weeks, yeah, and then 3 months. Look, there were so many of them. They were brought to KL. When there is a court case for 60 over, they were put in 2 immigration buses and taken for the case to be heard in Perlis. Perlis, you know, I come from Perlis. It takes about 7 hours to reach there. Selesailah 2-3 case. Bring back the 2 busload. And then maybe a few weeks later, another hearing. There was a time, by the time they reached Perlis, went to court, the magistrate got stomach ache. No case. I'm not joking, you know, this is true. Bawa balik. And you went on and on and on. And I know some of them stayed for 2 hari rayas in the shelter. And one of them was this girl who was happy to be there. Happy, the one yang ada masalah mental. So they stayed there for so long, and our act is such, once you are in the shelter, you cannot go out. You cannot go out. You just imagine Hari Raya, the girls were there. I can't even take them home. They can only leave the shelter after their case is heard. So, the report says that is not sheltering. We are actually, kita letak dalam kurungan. Isn't it? You cannot go out. It's because of our act. They are there until the case is over, and then when the case is over, you know who sends them home? Our big boss here. He's the one heading repatriation. This is where flawed means cacat. We say we are protecting, but we are not protecting. Kita kurung. Would you like, oh, they say bagi makan itu, ini ada program, ada rehabilitation, ada counseling, NGOs go in to do skills training, but you terkurung dalam pagar, ada besi-besi, kat situ ada pengawal. And we say that is protection. We are overprotecting. That's why in the report also it says our rate of prosecution in court, we lost a lot of cases in court because once the victims stay too long in the shelter, they change. Whatever they said earlier, you know, evidence itu ini, they change. Because they also pandai. Some other people say, kalau nak balik cepat, change lah. Kata no, you are not trafficked or something. If you want to go back fast. Kalau tidak, tunggu situ lama-lama. So, that is the reason why our angka prosecution turun. Plus the fact, when they go home, most of them balik dengan poket kosong. Most of them. Except for some cases where the employers, like the one in Perlis, the employers gave back their pay. So when I told the victim, kata ibu, saya mau pulang, ini hari raya. So I said to the victim, tak apalah, nanti bila kamu pulang, kamu ada duit. And then you know what she said to me? Iyalah bu, kalau saya boleh bekerja lebih banyak wang saya bawa balik. Can you imagine? About 60 maids in the house, kita bagi makan and so on. They are not allowed to work. So this is some of the reasons in the report, especially on victim protection. It is memang, I should say, flawed or cacat. Yeah. Okay. How many minutes have I got? Another 10. Okay. So what is the government doing now? The government is now in the midst of amending the act again. This act is going to be amended again. Amended in 2010, going to be amended again. And one of the amendment is, which I am happy, in the act, it says the victim must be put in a shelter home that is gazetted, yang diwartakan. So, yang diwartakan ialah rumah perlindungan kerajaan. Kerajaan cuma ada 5 rumah perlindungan, mungkin now 6. For women in KL and in Sabah, we have for children, we have for men in Melaka, and about 5 or 6. So it's very limited, yeah, rumah perlindungan. I give you an example. Katalah the case is in Sarawak. When they are rescued, you know where the victims are sent to? They are either sent to Sabah or sent to KL to be put in the shelter home, because they must be put in a gazetted shelter home. So we have been fighting for how many years? I've been speaking, I don't know, for 6 or how many years already. I said, if you want to use NGO homes, NGOs do not want to gazette their rumah pelindungan. Once you gazette, people would know where it is, right? So, with the coming proposed amendment, they are going to remove the word pengwartaan ataupun gazette, which means the victims can be put in NGO shelter home, and slowly the government, slowly, very, very slowly, slower than the tortoise, very slow. We have been talking about the same thing for the past how many years? It's not been moving. Hopefully now it moves. When later on, we are still talking now, yeah, where the victims can be put in NGO shelter home. Because NGOs, at the moment, I think there are about 12 NGOs who would like to join this program. So that if the victims now, kalau victims now in Penang, the victims have to be brought to KL. But now, I heard Tenaga Nita is opening another shelter in Penang. So hopefully, when the act is amended, when there are victims in Kedah, Perlis, they can use Tenaga Nita shelter home. But this is subject to a lot more of discussions, and also subject to MOUs that will be signed between Kementerian Wanita, because Rumah Perlindungan is under Kementerian Wanita, and the various NGOs. And the victims will be in danger if you don't really protect them. But if they are victims of forced labor, they do not need such tight protection. The government, once they amend, will allow them to go out and work. Hopefully, this happens next year, because they are trying to push for the amendment in Parliament in next month, in September. The victims will be allowed to work, and at the same time, in the proposal, some monetary, they will give allowance also. And at the moment, They said the victims will be given allowance weekly so that they have pocket money. Otherwise, they get nothing. Kosong. So hopefully, when, I am very sure if this proposal go through, this amendment go through, the victims can work, the victims can move out freely, the victims can be put in NGO shelter home. I am sure we can, if we really implement, we should go to tier 2. Or am I too ambitious, Angel? If we really implement this, we should improve our tier. As an NGO, I have been doing a lot of work, Angel knows, with our affiliates in all the states. When we got tier 3, I said, ayo, I'm so tired, doing a lot of work here in awareness program, but in the area of victim protection, it's not moving. So hopefully, after this amendment, things will move and we look forward. But still, a lot of things need to be done. Okay, I think I have covered. Yeah, if there's anything you can ask me, I cannot answer, Angel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Farida. We will not take questions right now, so hang on. We will wait for Tuan Fauzi from the Immigration Department to give us his presentation.